We step into the world of big dreams, big moves, and big money. It's the Big Cheese Miami Recruiting and NIL Report with Manny Navarro. After 40 years, the Big Cheese remains dedicated to serving the finest Italian dinners, pizza, pasta, subs, and salads. All of their pasta is imported from Italy and cooked fresh every day. Visit BigCheeseMiami.com. Now, let's find out who's the Big Cheese the Miami Hurricanes are working on with insider Manny Navarro.
Gary and Billy, the owners of the Big Cheese, they are the Big Cheese. Yes, sir. They created the Big Cheese 40 years ago, and they gave us that delicious product now for decades. Go check it out there, 8080 Southwest 67th Avenue. All right, Manny, we got the Under Armour game coming up now with the recruits coming up, the Under Armour Miami camp. Talk to me a little bit about that and what you're doing there.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning. I will actually only be able to be there for a couple of hours. It usually runs until about 3 p.m. But you got all the 2026, 2027 elite prospects from South Florida and different parts of the state that come down to participate in it. So it's always a good event to go to just to talk to guys because you have so many talented kids there. But there's, some really good 2026 guys that I think if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, you probably already know their names. But guys that you're going to follow their recruitment from now up until December. And so we can talk a little bit about those guys. Number one, Calvin Russell, big time 5-star wide receiver / tight end out of Miami Northwestern. Here's a guy who I think is getting recruited really, really hard to go play at Syracuse for Fran Brown. Miami is doing a really good job recruiting him as well, but it's probably going to be a Miami-Syracuse battle up until the end. Again, NIL, I'm sure will play a factor in this, especially with top 100 recruits. Miami is one of the strongest NIL programs in the country. But again, there's relationships, there's assistant coaches. That's the kind of kid, Calvin Russell, who could go to Syracuse, probably make some good money on NIL and be the star there. Miami needs wide receiver help. They're going to be young at that position. He will be watching, I'm sure, Miami's offense this year. And if he goes back and he looks at what Syracuse just did with Kyle McCord, he's going to be impressed, right? Especially Oronde Gadsden Jr., the season he had. And so Calvin Russell is a sort of Oronde Gadsden Jr. type prospect. He will be at the camp on Sunday. I'm interested in talking to him. Derek Cooper, who we've mentioned on the show several times, Hollywood Chaminade, running back. I think this is a super talented kid. He will be there as well. Miami obviously trying to recruit him. Jordan Campbell, linebacker out of Carroll City High School, 2026. He's been a long-time Miami commitment to this point. And then Javian Mallory, who is a superstar running back out of West Boca Raton. He is a high-end Miami target as well. He will be among the kids participating.
Okay. The other stuff that goes on is poaching right now.
Yes.
So talk to me since, because you just talked about it in our last segment, how there might be some kids out of the spring practices that they find out they're not in a really good position. They may want to transfer. Well, now we've got maybe some coaches that might be looking to steal a player or two from somewhere else. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, you look at what Miami just brought in their defensive staff. Will Harris, who comes over from the University of Florida, Zach Etheridge, who comes over from Houston. Those are two teams, obviously, that have talent. Florida's secondary was one of the best in the country. I don't want to sit here and just throw names out of college guys that they're going to pick off. But essentially, I would just tell you, if you're looking for more upgrades on the Miami roster in the spring transfer window, there's a good hint, right? Florida and Houston are potentially two teams.
Didn't the Canes get like a Gator corner to transfer over because of the whole Will Harris thing?
Well, they have a kid who was decommitted that is probably going to end up in Miami's class. That's a 2026 kid. But yeah, there are other guys.
He decommitted from the Gators. Is that the guy that I remember? I just don't remember the name. Is that the kid we're talking about?
Yeah,
I thought
it's 2026. Yeah.
After they hired Will Harris, I thought they stole somebody. I thought like some kid decommitted right away after Will Harris signed. That's what I thought.
Yes. I think there were a couple kids who were Florida players that decommitted after, the change in the secondary in terms of their secondary coach. And those are guys, they haven't committed yet to Miami. But those are guys that are definitely on the radar for Miami. I was going to mention
any of those names because I think I think it might have been you.
Yeah, I mentioned it before. Let me go back and look at my notes here because there's so many kids to keep track of.
I know that when that happened, something happened, and I think we talked about
Jalen Waters. It was Jalen Waters. That was the kid, Jalen Waters. Yeah. He plays for Miami Raw, the 7-on-7 team. So any kids that end up playing for Miami Raw, I always say, the Hurricanes have a really good shot at getting. There's certain programs that just play for that feed into different colleges. Miami Raw has a really good connection with the Hurricanes in terms of eventually sending players to UM. So that's the kid, Jalen Waters out of Sefner Armwood. Plus he has two former high school teammates that just signed with Miami. But some other guys to keep an eye on here. And this is again because of the new hires, players that were just offered. Zach Fort, who's a Bradenton IMG 4-star recruit. He's been committed to Georgia since late January. I think he's a guy that you need to watch out for because of Will Harris and the relationship they have. Dorian Barney, he's a 4-star recruit from Georgia, the state of Georgia. He's going to be at the start of camp on Monday. He's a 2026 recruit as well, uncommitted at the moment. Preston Carey, a defensive tackle out of IMG Academy, 4-star kid, 6'4", 280 pounds. Damian Lewis, the defensive tackles coach, will help to try and convince Carey to come here. Alabama, USC, Syracuse, Rutgers are the other schools after him. He's a kid out of New York. A lot of New York kids end up in Miami because they love the campus, love the scenery, love the change of pace. I think that's a guy to keep an eye out for. And one more to mention to you, linebacker Tony Williams, kid out of Jacksonville Reigns, Miami's new defensive coordinator, Corey Heatherman, coaches the linebackers. And so those are 4 guys that I would say in the 2026 class. You talk about poaching or getting involved with maybe that you really haven't been to this point. Those are all guys that I think Miami has a chance to take.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. What do you got working on the Athletics so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing a story on quarterbacks and breaking down, the guys that had success last season, looking at all the quarterback rooms nationally in terms of returning starting experience and, who's kind of in the strongest positions. That'll be coming out early next week. And then I'm doing a ton of stuff on the transfer portal. So they're all projects that I've been working on here for the past week, brother, spending a lot of time researching and interviewing and talking to people. So, but the quarterback story will be out first, and then I will be at the Under Armour on Sunday and then at the start of Miami practice on Monday. So I'll have stuff from those events as well.
All right, good stuff. As always, follow him on Twitter, Manny_Navarro, and make sure you subscribe to The Athletic. Manny, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up on Tuesday, my friend. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. The great Manny Navarro with our Big Cheese Miami.com NIL and recruiting report.
You've been listening to the Big Cheese Miami Recruiting and NIL Report with Manny Navarro. At the Big Cheese Miami, they continue to purchase the same high-quality ingredients that the most expensive Italian restaurants use. The difference is they serve large portions at a family price. Visit the Big Cheese at 8080 Southwest 67th Avenue in Miami. Call 305-662-6855 or go to thebigcheesemiami.com. Go Canes!
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.